Is it the beginning of the end for Channel 4? I, for a long time, have found the channel, especially the news coverage, totally irrelevant, laughably skewed, and a complete irrelevance to me. But there are sounds now coming out from government that Channel 4 could be scrapped or sold off as advertising revenue plummets. Now, as ever, guys, if you could please support me here on YouTube by clicking subscribe and the bell, giving you an alternative, thankfully, to mainstream media. Would really appreciate your support. Yeah, now, so the Telegraph reporting on John Whittingdale from the government saying the channel's business model, Channel 4, under increasing strain in the age of Netflix. And obviously we've had this debate in terms of the BBC, the defund the BBC, anti-licence fee campaign surging. Obviously a plethora of alternative media, including right here on YouTube, the Westminster channel. And, you know, increasingly, I think there are many more like me who view the mainstream media as increasingly irrelevant in large swathes. But Channel 4 News, I think, have just become a laughing stock, to be honest. You look at some of the output, it's unwatchable, in my opinion. And we now have, as I say, the government's media minister, John Whittingdale, saying that Channel 4 could be scrapped or sold off because a second publicly owned broadcaster is no longer needed in the age of streaming services. John Whittingdale said in the advertiser funding model of Channel 4 was under increasing strain because of the advent of subscription streaming services like Netflix, Amazon Prime, and suggested its publicly owned status should be reviewed. Speaking on a panel at the Conservative Party conference, John Whittingdale saying, "I'm not sure if it is sustainable into the future, so we do need to think about Channel 4 and whether or not there is a need for a second publicly owned broadcaster or what function it should fulfill." That is something we are giving a lot of thought to. Now, let me know what you think about Channel 4, guys. As I say, my personal opinion is I view it irrelevant. I think it speaks volumes now that you seem to see them chasing after interviews and asking why people don't want to do interviews. It's because it's become an irrelevance. And they've only got themselves to blame, in my opinion. Now, Channel 4 News teams repeat, as the Telegraph report, Channel 4 News' team has previously clashed with the government over alleged bias in its reporting after the channel empty-chaired Boris Johnson at a climate change debate during last year's election campaign. A Conservative spokesman accused the team of a provocative partisan stunt and a wider pattern of bias. And I have to say, a lot of the behaviour of Channel 4 News in particular has been pretty pathetic over the years. You know, the public aren't stupid, are they? We're not stupid. We can see the ridiculous bias in a lot of what goes on in mainstream media, and this sort of farcical situation we have where people blatantly have almost to a man and woman a left-wing anti-Brexit bias, and they mouth off on Twitter, they highlight selected woke stories, and then they go on TV and pretend to be neutral. It's a pathetic game. We're not stupid, we're not being conned, and I think it's why a lot of people now are looking at the BBC, looking at Channel 4 and thinking, actually, you're completely irrelevant to me. Now, John Whittingdale's indication that the government is considering scrapping Channel 4's publicly owned status could be the biggest shake-up of the UK's terrestrial TV since the launch of Channel 5 in 1997, as Telegraph report again there. And although ITV and Channel 5 are also recognised as public broadcasters in the UK, both are commercially owned, whereas Channel 4 is publicly owned as an offshoot of the Department of Culture, Media and Sport. The government could also sell Channel 4 to a private buyer, although the sale would need to be subject to competition rules if it was bought by another media company. Speaking alongside John Whittingdale was a Conservative MP, Ben Bradley, accused Channel 4 of bias in its news reporting. It's quoted as saying, "I've been skewered by them more than once, where you're not able to get a word in before everybody else has been slated." Now, you know, this is another issue where the government seems to be talking about a radical approach here. But are they actually, is it just all talk, or are we actually going to see any movement on this? As I say, the media landscape is rapidly changing. And, you know, with channels like this on YouTube surging, with streaming services, it seems to me that the likes of BBC and Channel 4 really are on borrowed time. Now, The Guardian, and I know a lot of you aren't Guardian fans, but they also did a report on this, saying that individuals at the top of government, including the Prime Minister's advisor Dominic Cummings, have made no secret of their disdain for Channel 4. They were especially aggrieved after Dorothy Byrne, the broadcaster's former head of news and current affairs, delivered a speech at last year's Edinburgh Television Festival lambasting Boris Johnson as a liar. How's that for fair and balanced? During the general election campaign, a Conservative campaign source pledged to review Channel 4's licence. Now, John Whittledale is said to be a long-time proponent of Channel 4's privatisation, having first proposed such a move in 1996, arguing the channel needs external financial backing in order to survive. The government considered a sell-off when Whittledale was Culture Secretary in 2015, but ultimately backed down in the face of an intense lobbying campaign from the broadcaster. Channel 4 then saw off a bid by the government to force it to move its headquarters outside London, instead agreeing to set up 3 regional bases in Leeds, Bristol and Glasgow. Ministers are considering whether there is a need for Channel 4 to exist in its current form, raising the prospect that the broadcaster will be privatised. Now, I have to say that the criticism that gets thrown at the likes of BBC and Channel 4, the people in charge, I honestly don't think give a damn, because they basically either seem to ignore the criticism or dismiss it. Those seem to be the two moves that you see, and so they entrench themselves further and further into a London-centric, posh, middle-class, unrepresentative mentality, which are odds with the mainstream public opinion, which is why they make themselves increasingly irrelevant. It becomes self-fulfilling ultimately, that they become more and more irrelevant. But I wanted to ask my followers on Twitter, and if you're not following me, go and follow me at Michael_Heaver. I wanted to know, I basically asked my followers, would you miss Channel 4 if it no longer existed? And you know, if I was Channel 4, or a mainstream media journalist for that matter, I would look at the responses, because it was crazy, actually, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of responses, thank you if you were one, basically saying, no, I couldn't give a damn. And a lot of one-word no's in there, but also some people saying, channel what? Who? You know, Channel 4 and others, I don't think they realise how irrelevant they are quickly becoming, or have become. And actually, there's no way back now, I think, for a lot of people. I think so many now coming onto YouTube, looking at alternative platforms, and I guess this is where the opportunity is for GB News as a new news TV outlet. It's so far gone with so many of you now that you're just not interested. It's not part of what you even consider watching anymore. And I have to say the same is true for me. You know, when I occasionally have Channel 4 News from around someone's gaff or whatever, and it's on in the background, I mean, I find the whole thing it's laughable, really, the output, a lot of it. It's completely irrelevant, increasingly so. A few of the other comments I was getting was, nope, completely biased, unwatchable, and no, it's an irrelevance. Now, people can dismiss that and say, well, Michael, that's just people that follow you. But actually, I think this points to a deeper pattern that we're seeing now of people, as I say, the British public, having enough, effectively, of skewed media outlets, and they have the alternatives now to quite plausibly not watch them anymore, and for them to just become increasingly irrelevant to an increasing number of people. I guess it's why channels like this are surging, and thanks so much for clicking subscribe, guys. Thanks so much for watching. Really thankful for your support on this channel. But the wider picture in terms of the government, this is another issue where the government seem to be looking at a radical way forward in terms of the mainstream media in Britain. But will they actually deliver, or will they just allow this farce to go on? Let's see what the government actually do. Words are one thing, but as we know in politics, action's quite another. But could this be the beginning of the end of Channel 4 as we know it? Let me know what you think, guys. And as ever, if you've enjoyed this report, if you found it helpful and informative, please click the thumbs up button, click subscribe and the bell. That really helps me out. And of course, thank you very much for watching.